Yaut Ab Tlanugwa. Hello, I'm called Ab, and I wanted to walk you through one of the features that we have on the Heisler website, where we've uploaded some Heisler language packages that you can take a look at. And there's word files, text files that go along with them, and also sound files. So this is the Heisler website. So if you're on the home page, then you want to go to the menu bar under Resources, and then click on Heisler Language Packages. That's where I am right now. So just a few things that I want to mention first off. You can see there's a note up here that I've written. Here are the revised language packages that came from the Heisler Nation archives. Each package has audio lessons on SoundCloud and PDF word lists. So the thing that I wanted to mention is that the word lists they use different writing systems. So when I first started revising these packages, we have the original ones, but some of them are kind of poor copies. And they were just printed on paper, so they're copies of copies. They weren't in great shape, so what I decided to do was to basically retype all of them. So that's what I started with, retyping these. There's 3 language packages here altogether. And also there's audio that goes with them. A couple of them, the audio was in pretty bad shape. And I did what I could with the audio. I did as much editing as I could without affecting the overall sound of it. And so I brought it up as well as I could in the editing. And with the text files, these come from 3 different people, 3 different language specialists. So there's different writing systems involved. And when I started actually revising these, it was before I fully understood all of the orthographies and before we actually adopted a standard writing system, which we call the hybrid orthography. So the last one here, it is brought up to the orthography, but there are still some issues there. So I'll have to take a look at that again and make more corrections. So basically when you're on this page, you have this is a SoundCloud playlist. So you can press on this button up here and it'll start playing these files. You can scroll down and you'll see a list of all the files that are in that playlist. You can do that, or if you go up to the top right-hand corner, you can see when it's not pressed, it's black, but when you have your cursor over top of it, it turns orange. If you press that, it'll open it up directly in SoundCloud. So it'll bring you to the SoundCloud website, and then you can listen to the playlist there. So you can do either of those. What I would suggest is when you're listening to these, open up one of the word lists. So basically here I've got a condensed version where it's just the words, and then I have a full package here of the whole course, this first course in Heisler, where Heinvink goes into more depth. So this was developed by Heinvink, and usually what I would suggest is that when you're listening to this, if you want to read the word lists as you're listening, I would open up one of these PDF files in a different tab. So if you right-click on one of these, I personally would suggest going with the full package, right-click, click on Open Link in New Tab, and it brings you to the document in a different tab on your browser. So I'll zoom in a little bit here. You can see it's called a first course in Heisler. So there's Heisler Lessons, numbers, and sentences. I believe these were all developed separately, but I found them all together in one package, so I kept them together. So this The first course in Heisler, the lessons were recorded by Heinvink, read by Kay Grant and Nelson Grant in 1974. I did the audio editing, and Megan Metz also did some. I taught her a little bit of audio editing tricks, so she contributed to this package as well. And this took place July and August of 2018. Full text was revised by me again in 2019, so I went back to it, and I'm going to go back to it again, and you'll see why as we go through this. Here's the link on the SoundCloud page. So we actually had two different SoundCloud accounts. So we ran out of room on the first one, so we created a second one. Now the first one is unlimited, so we can keep uploading new stuff to it without having to worry about running out of space. And I kept this basically exactly the way that Heinvink wrote it. His spelling system is used throughout this. And he talks a little bit about how the language works, particularly with the writing system that he developed. He had 3 different writing systems that he created, and this was the first one that he used. So you can see there's quite a bit of information to start off with. And then we get into the first exercise. So E is exercise, and then 1 is the first one. So each lesson focuses on a specific sound in the Heisler language. So this first lesson centers around the letter A. So basically what I did here was these first 2 columns are what appeared in the original document. This third column is where I attempted to create a bit of a modified system. So HV means Heinvink. This is the original spelling. Mod just stands for modified. And you can see their English word is here, Heinvink spelling here, and then the modified spelling that I came up with before I learned all of the writing systems. So that's why I want to go back, because I want to change these in this third column to, I want to convert them to the hybrid orthography that we're using now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to the Heisler website. I'm going to click on here, and it'll play the first file. So we'll just listen to that together.
First course in Heisler. Exercises. Informant Mrs. Kay Grant and Mr. Nelson Grant, both from the Kitamat village. Exercise number 1.
So I'm just going to pause it there. So the voice that you're hearing is Heinvink. So he introduces each lesson. He says the English word, and then Kay and Nelson Grant say the words in Heisler. So let's go back to it.
The letter A. Thick.
Amps.
So I'm just going to pause it there. So I'm going to go back to the PDF file. So I'll go to my other tab. So this is something you can do when you're listening to these. It's a little bit easier if you have the PDF file open, so that way you can read along. So let's listen to a couple of words here.
Stop.
Alkja. Alkja.
Alkja. Alkja. To cook.
Hamgila. Hamgila.
Hamgila. Hamgila.
So there you get an idea of the course itself. So the thing about this this course is that I'm not sure if the course wasn't finished, if Heinrich didn't get a chance to actually complete the course, because it ends at exercise 34. And I know the orthography really well, so I know that there's about 20 more lessons that could have been done, but in every copy that I've ever seen of this, it only goes up to lesson 34. So I don't know if he only got that far when he was doing this, or if he finished it and then the rest of it got lost somehow. So the word files only go up to 34. And then you can see here the next track is numbers 1 to 13. So I'll find that in the PDF file. It's around here. Okay, so there's the numbers. This is slightly different. This is Heinrich's second orthography. So I mentioned he had multiple writing systems that he developed throughout the years. This is one where he used a small circle. And this is what we use today. This symbol we don't use, but we use something else that has the same function. What we use is a small raised W. So I didn't use that in this modified writing system that I tried to use. I just turned them into regular W's, but now that I have a better understanding of the orthography, because this was about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something along those lines. So now I understand it better. So I understand the function of a small raised W. So I'll be converting these. So basically when you see an X or a K or a G that's followed by a small W that's up above it, what that means is you're rounding that sound. So this word is no. No. So if you look at what my lips are doing, I'm rounding them before I even get to this part that's made by the X. So X sounds like or hya or hue in Heisler, a regular X. And when it's followed by the small raised W, it's so no. So that's a little bit of a difference between the writing systems, just between Heinrich's. This is an earlier work that Heinrich made, this first lesson, or first course in Heisler, or first course in Heisler. This one is different. This one came along later. And if we take a listen to this track.
Heisler numbers, page 92. The numbers 1 to 13. 1, noch, noch. 2, ma'aloch, ma'aloch. 3, you do.
So you can hear that it's a different speaker. I believe that's Louise Barbetti. And I'm not sure if Heinrich himself transcribed these or if somebody else did, but I recognize his writing system. This is his second orthography. So I'm not too clear on that. And then the rest of it is sentence examples. So again, there's 2 different spellings used. There's my kind of simplified modification, and then there's Heinrich's original text here. So if we take a listen to this, to sentences part 1.
Heisler sentences, page 78. What are you doing? Mas ali urs. Mas ali urs. Answer, Yusma, Yusma. Number 2, what is your mother doing? Mas alis abukus, Mas alis abukus. Answer, nothing, Yusma, Yusma.
So there definitely is more work that I can do with that one. And I provided a condensed version where it's just the words, and then the full package with all of Heinrich's text that he included in the original document. The next one is called Let's Learn Heisler. And again, there's a SoundCloud playlist. There's 3 files here. So you have the first 50 words, second 50 words, and some vocabulary and phrases. And I I checked this earlier, and this hyperlink here doesn't work, so I'll have to fix that a little bit later on. But what I can do is I can bring you to my original PDF file on my computer here. So I'll do that. So this is the Let's Learn Heisler package. So there's the contents. This was prepared by Wendy Bolton, read by Nelson Grant, recorded by Jay Powell in September 2009. I edited these in 2018. And I didn't really edit anything. I really just redid everything and turned it into electronic format. So that was really, I tried to keep everything the way it was, but now I'm thinking, since there's these so-called phonetic spelling, phonetic meaning like spelling it as it sounds, we don't use this anymore. We use the hybrid orthography because it does a better job of representing the unique sounds in Heisler. So it might seem easier at first to read this, but I'm reading this now and I'm actually having quite a bit of difficulty figuring out how it should actually sound. But I will update these, and maybe I'll keep both of them, just because this was the original document. I want to try and keep things as close to the original as it can be. So if I go back to the website and click on the play button.
The first 50 words in Heisler. Nelson Grant is reading.
Hello. Yout. Yout. Yes. Anna. Anna. No. Q. Q. Okay. Wah. Wah.
So there you get an idea of the Let's Learn Heisler package. And the last one is called Wisinis Heisler. So again, we have a SoundCloud playlist here with all the individual files. There's 10 lessons here. So I'm going to open up this, the word lists in a separate tab. So I'll click on that. I'll zoom in. So this is Wisinis Heisler, beginning Heisler Lessons 1 to 10, prepared by Emmen Bach. He was the last established linguist, the last one to create a writing system. And the hybrid orthography that we use now is based mostly on that system, with a few symbols from a different orthography mixed in there. And it really is the best representation overall of the sounds in our language. So that's why it's used for the sake of consistency and for the sake of teaching and sharing. The hybrid orthography is really useful. So it's read by Dora Robinson and Rose Robinson. And this was created in 1995, edited by me in November 2020. Actually, it was edited a couple of years before that. I revised it in 2020, and I'm going to revise it again sometime soon. There's the SoundCloud playlist that you can use. So you can either go copy this from the PDF file and copy it into a web browser, or you can go directly to the Heisler website. So as I said, I try to keep everything as close to the way it was as possible. So unfortunately, Emmen Bach passed on a few years ago, close to 10 years ago now. So he's no longer around, but I did leave this the way he originally wrote it, with his contact information in there and other things like that. So we have a list of contents here. So you have lessons 1 to 10. There's some other information about how the language works and how the orthography can be read and other things like that. And there's a short dictionary in the back. So the first lesson, I think what I'll do is I'll go back to the Heisler website. I'll play this first sound file and then go back to the PDF file, and we can read along as we're listening.
Wisenis Haislak Allah. The voices that you will hear on this tape are those of Emmon Bach, Rose Robinson, and Dora Robinson. The tape is intended to go with the lessons called Wisenis Haislak Allah, prepared in Kitimat village. For each of the first 9 lessons, you'll hear first the conversational examples and then the vocabulary. For the 10th lesson, you'll hear the voice of the late Ella Grant, talking in English and in Haislak Allah about the Ulukan harvest in the old days. Lesson 1. Conversation.
Jout.
Jout.
Wisnis Haislak Allah.
Wishnish Haislak Allah.
Wa.
Wa.
Seswela.
Seswela.
Kiwela.
Wela.
Okay, so I'll stop it there. If you want to hear more, then you know where to go. And as I mentioned before, these word lists do need to be looked at again. So I'll get to that sometime in the near future. So that's it for this video. I hope you found this helpful. Until next time, exquiguelas.